In this modern era of competitive world, the role of a CEO is great in developing an organization, broadening the outlook, and in fact, CEO is a social face of an organization. What does it mean? What organization's culture is? What organization's planning is? What organizational style of functioning? All these things will be exhibited through the face of a CEO. So the psyche and persona of a CEO are very, very important characteristic features which have to be analyzed by the people who work in and around with him, and also by the society, and also by the entire organizational workforce, in order to follow and to critically examine whether he is dealing, whether his strategic planning, whether it is strategy evolved by him is congenial to the organization and the society at large as a whole. These things are very important, and it is absolutely necessity to examine critically the psyche and persona of a CEO. If we go to the dictionary meaning, the psyche, the meaning of this word is human soul, spirit, and mind. Persona, the dictionary meaning goes, a persona is a fictional research backed profile used in a specific segment designing the humanize. It refers to the public image and social role of a person present. Specifically, this applies to CEO because he is the face of the organization. Persona is a social mask. This is a peculiar word used in the literature of psychology, specifically Jung. It's a social mask, often different from their private self. What is the gulf between what is the private self, the personal interest, personal meaning of a work, and what the work mode presented by a CEO to the organizational workforce in the society may be different at times. At times they may be synchronized or contributing one to the other. Jung did a lot of research on this. Literature had much discussion on the strategic mask of identity. The strategic mask of identity. An overview is a combination of demographics, behaviors, goals, and motivations. Swiss psychologist, specifically Jung, defined the social face of an individual presents to the world, a kind of a mask designed on the one hand to make a definite impression on others, and the other to conceal true nature of individuals. Here, this definition gives us a scope to analyze the personality of a CEO. How far he is concealing his personal views, and how far he is presenting his views modified using strategy, using communication skills as a mask to the organizational managerial force or workforce. This is where there is a scope for discussion and necessity of discussion about a CEO, his psyche and persona, which are very, very important in developing an organization, which is very, very important. And specifically, the top managers have to be cautious. The top managers have to patiently analyze the psyche of a CEO in order to follow and at times to differ in the larger interests of the organization and society. The psyche and persona of a CEO are characterized by a complex, often paradoxical blend of intense ambition, high resilience, and frequently a high degree of confidence bordering on narcissism. Bordering on narcissism. This is where the CEO, if he enters into the zone of a narcissism, these phenomenal traits at times may cause danger to the organization. The psychology is heavily focused on growth and survival, driven by need to navigate high stakes, ambiguous environments, while often portrayed as heroic, effective CEOs are increasingly defined by their ability to foster supportive, collaborative culture, balancing their public persona with a need to manage deep personal and professional challenges. I repeat these words: deep personal, managing deep personal and professional challenges. The CEO psyche, the inner drivers and mental frameworks. Inner drivers and mental frameworks, these are the two important factors which guide the top leadership to move the organization. The growth mindset. At the core is a belief that abilities can be developed and driving a culture of innovation and resilience. High stakes in decision making. CEOs possesses he must possess the ability to make rapid, high stakes decisions with a conviction, often in situations where a playbox does not exist. A playbook does not exist. Intense ambition and achievement orientation. They are achievers who drive fulfillment from tangible results and long term goals. Resilience and grit, the ability to remain focused on long term goals despite significant setbacks such as economic downturns or internal conflict. Managing psychological challenges. Loneliness at the top. CEOs often feel a profound sense of isolation as few others understand the pressure of their role. This is where the middle management, the immediate next position of the leaders of the CEO, have to play a pivotal role to assist the CEO to come out of this syndrome and see that his challenges are met and see this all his positive characters are streamed in the developing the organization in a positive way. This loneliness, it becomes very bitter and it will become an enemy to the organization if it is not again remotivated at the behest or at the participation of the cloud managers in and around the CEO. See, this imposter syndrome, over 60% of the CEOs admit to feeling unqualified or like a fraud at some point. Decision fatigue, this is very important thing that CEOs have to come out. The volume of high stakes choices can lead to a mental exhaustion requiring strong self regulation. This strong self regulation includes his habits and his ability to control the body and the mind in order to have a harmony and balanced approach in leading the organization. The CEO persona, let us see, and public persona, basically a mask, a social mask, or his presentation of his personality to the society with all his skills of communication and manners and gestures and through other several articulated things adapted by himself depending on his psychological traits. That's where his psyche played. Here, let us see what is CEO persona, a public and leadership style. The visionary prophet, which we call a top CEOs, are master communications who articulates a clear 5-year vision to align internal and external stakeholders. The talent architect, as a talent architect, effective CEOs focus on hiring and building robust, capable teams to execute their vision. Here, the skill, the art of leadership lies of the CEO in building capable and robust teams. Here, normally, several CEOs entrusted to several others, finally resulting in the loose leadership at the down and the lower level of the management hierarchy. Host, not hero. Modern CEOs are moving away from the heroic approach, knowing everything, toward a host approach of empowering others. Confident and assertive, they are generally self assured, projecting calm under pressure and trusting their judgment. The vulnerable leader, this is very important to discuss who is a vulnerable leader. The vulnerable leader, paradoxically, high performing CEO, use vulnerability as a tool to foster trust and encourage open, honest communication. This is what is the basic requirement. Open, honest communication with his immediate level of subordinates and the group of technical skill experts in and around with him. What is exactly his idea? What is exactly his comprehension about a specific project or a specific idea in implementing the organization? Unless he comes out with all open communication, with all openness, it will become a cumbersome thing for the remaining hierarchy to implement it with soul and heart. Rule breaking mentality and narcissism and overconfidence. These are the enemies, the dark side of the behavioral risk by a CEO. Narcissism and overconfidence. Studies show that many CEOs have high levels of narcissism, inflated sense of self. I'm repeating this word, inflated sense of self, and overconfidence, which can drive bold, sometimes risky decisions like high value acquisitions. Rule breaking mentality. A common trait is a belief that rules do not apply to them because they are the highest level of the leaders, which can foster a culture that disregards regulations. This is a bad, dark side of a CEO. If he himself is not adopting the systems created by his organization and himself, there is no meaning at all. Illusory superiority. Success can cause a CEO confidence to exceed their actual achievements, potentially leading to a refusal to listen to the others. This is the worst enemy for an organization culture and building the culture for organization, because when the number one, the CEO doesn't like to listen to the others and others' views, how can he know? After all, a human being, CEO is also a human being. He does not know everything A to Z. There is no necessity, and at the same time, it is absolutely impossible for any human to know A to Z of everything in the management systems. So, illusory superiority shall be avoided by the confidence exceed their actual achievements. Terrorizing versus pollyannish. Pollyannish. Under extreme stress, CEOs may either terrorize their team or adapt delusional. It is not so bad. Both are bad. Terrorizing is bad and delusional, it is not so bad. Both are bad. Attitude, forward focus. So these are the dark side of the traits, positive side of the traits, which we are discussing in the psyche and persona of a CEO. These two must be analyzed by his batch, and there must be a group of people who are clearly onlookers, critical examiners of the systems and organization. They must focus, they must keep an idea on the persona and the psyche of the CEO also in the larger interests of the organization. And these observers must be in a position to communicate the CEO where he is exceeding, where his vision is not that clear, or where his vision is becoming blur, which is very darkest part of the side of the CEO. This has to be observed and communicated. Let us summarize the key personality dimensions. They are according to the recent research, CEOs often stand out from the general population in these following areas: higher assertiveness, consciousness, achievement oriented, openness to experience. The lower is anxiety, more grounded in crisis, empathy, more objective, emotionally detached. Successful CEOs often balance these three traits by surrounding themselves with trusted advisors. I am repeating this word, trusted advisors, who are having a lot of wisdom about the management and practical experience. If we trust his advisors and embracing a constant state of becoming, I repeat the word, if he embraces a constant state of becoming, which involves continuous learning and adopting their leadership style. Continuous learning and adopting their leadership style, then only the psyche and person of a CEO can lead the organization. In order to protect these things, a CEO must be a philosopher. A CEO must be an enlightened person. A CEO must be a person with enlightened character, inducing these characteristic features into his team in order to build an absolutely powerful and a team with guts and grit. Then only he can lead the organization. And again I repeat that it is for the team and the mentors, and it is for the team and the senior leadership to have an eye on the psyche and persona of a CEO, how he is reacting privately, how he is reacting openly when he is speaking outside. If that rift in that hiatus and gulf becomes more, and if he is planning a different thing inside his peshi, that is where the problem lies. For all these things, the most powerful solution is a CEO must be a human with reflective dimension. He must develop a reflective dimension by himself, and he himself analyze any change in the persona and psyche himself and take enough of beautiful steps in order to avoid the negative things and put forth all positive things in the interest of the larger side of the organization and its development and building a great culture in the organization. Thank you very much.